Andi Bivens, and I am a graphic designer for Contra Costa Health Services. And I work in the Office of the Directors unit for community education and information. I started 20 years ago with health services, and I entered the organization as an admin, temporary admin. And once they saw what I could do and got a little bit of my background, college history information, they decided to give me a lot of work that involved being creative. And in the CEI unit, the graphic designer who was there, she moved on to go to a college to work for that. I think it was Diablo Valley College, but I'm not certain. But anyway, my supervisor told the person who was looking to replace that designer that I had that skill set, and she decided to move me into her unit. And thus here I am 20 years later. So I returned to school in 2014 to get a motion graphic designer degree. And that entails animation, film, clips, little short clips that go on the website. We also do work where we put ads, PSAs into the theaters. And we also handle electronic billboard services for health services. And so when patients go into the hospital and health centers, there are displayed TVs in the waiting areas where people can see our work and see the messaging that we're trying to get across. So that's basically what our unit does, as well as large format printing, billboards on the side of on the freeways, also BART station ads, what is it? It's called transit ads, where when you're sitting waiting for the bus to come. We also do small items, flyers, brochures, posters, and then we also do the really detailed graphics for giveaways, hats, wristbands, pins, all kind of things, whatever, mugs, whatever you can think, water bottles. And right now we're doing a lot of COVID stickers and COVID related items. So, and masks with our logo on the side of the face. So we do everything visual, and pretty much that's the world we're in right now since March. Everything that we've been developing in CEI has been related to COVID.
Can you please explain what CEI is?
Community Education and Information Unit,
Okay.
the Office of the Director.
And that's through County Health Services?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And so maybe you can share this. I know you said that you started at County Health a while ago, but did you always know that they had this kind of department? Because I think when we think of County Health, you don't always, think of graphic design or digital design.
Right. I did not know they had that. So when I entered, like I said, I started as an admin. And when they saw my creative side, they told me about the unit who had just started maybe 5 years prior to me onboarding, that that would be a good fit for me.
And when you started to go back to school to get your degree, what school did you go to? And what was that process like?
It was hectic because I had a full-time job and I was going to school full-time. and I was able to cram my um, classes into 3.5 years for me to graduate. And so it was hectic. I attended Expression College in Emeryville, and they were, uh, that college was created through Pixar. So a lot of students that graduated for film or graphic, motion graphics, or um, that type of related degree, some of them went on to Pixar, which was down the street and around the corner. So it, it, it worked. It was beneficial for most of the students who attended there.
And while you were going to school, you were still working for the CEI unit through County Health.
Yes.
Did County Health, sometimes jobs have programs where they help, pay for school or certificates or anything? Did County Health
But,
help with any of that?
well, let me say this. I had to show my grades, and I think they gave me a stipend for I forget what the vernacular was, but they did give a small stipend for you passing your classes and stuff. So yeah, wasn't
That
much, but it was helpful. It gave me gas money.
good. And it sounds like a good incentive too. Did you get any specific certificates while going to school there or, anything?
Diploma, just the diploma when I finished.
Okay. And then was it like a bachelor's of?
It's a bachelor's of science. I got it on the wall. I had to look at it. Bachelor's of science, applied science in motion graphics.
Okay, awesome. So I think that that's really exciting, and I appreciate you sharing a little bit of background. I know this summer, while you were a mentor for our summer interns, you talked about when you create content, you have to be mindful of your spacing and what that looks like. And you shared that you have some graphics you want to share. Do you want
I
to try
do.
sharing them now?
I can. I'll start with some of the items that are COVID related. Um, Let me open that up. Hold on. Just when you think you have it all settled.
You're
Uh,
okay.
okay, so the COVID related stuff is quite interesting because this actual, where is it? Let me stop sharing and go back in here. All right. So this item, what Contra Costa Health Services has done is they've broken out groups into um, programs so that they can target certain populations um, to get the messaging out. And so we have a Latinx group, and we also have an African American work group. And I am on the African American work group. And this is one of the social media graphics that they put on Facebook, Twitter, um, and some of the other social media sites. And so this is focused on people spacing themselves 6 feet apart during this pandemic. And so this particular thumb was made for that. So we had to go through a process of creating messaging as well as images. And so we physically shot this photo just to give everybody the sense of staying 6 feet apart. And so that's one of the things that we did for COVID. And then this is considered an A-frame. So this poster is inset into an A-frame and sits outside of businesses throughout Contra Costa County. And so when people are walking up to go into, oh, I got it on. Can you see this? Or
Yes,
what?
we can see it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So this is an item that sits outside of the storefronts and other small businesses to get the message out about doing the right thing and protecting people, families, friends in the community so that they don't contract COVID and pass away. Um, some of the other things that I have are,
And
yes.
oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to ask, what programs do you use to create these documents?
Okay, so my primary programs are all Adobe based. So that's Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign, Premiere Pro, and when I do small animations, I may sometimes also use After Effects. And I have another item here that I'm preparing for the Martin Luther King celebration, which is going to be virtual because of course you can't have large crowds anymore. And we generally hold that at the Board of Supervisors office every year in January. But this time we're going to have a virtual celebration. So this was created for that. Um, there's another group, a project called CORE that targets the homeless in whatever they need, whether it's referrals or if they need to get in programs or anything like that. So the homeless group asked me to create a logo for them for their CORES, Coordinated Outreach, Referral, and Engagement Program. And the short acronym is CORE. So in order to develop a logo, people don't understand the process of what you have to do just to get approval of a logo. So what I generally do is I sit down with a client, I talk to them about what it is they want, I give them a narrative of how the design is going to be and what it's going to, you know, how it's supposed to actually invoke and call to action by the people that they're trying to target. And so to develop this, the client actually created their own initially. And then they said, well, I think I'm going to give it to the CEI group and see if they can do something better. So when they came to me, they had these two logos that they had created. And from there, I went into a brief. And a brief is something where you get inspired. So I went out, I do research of all the other people who do care related stuff. And I build what this is called as a mood board. And I show them the mood board and I ask them, what do they think? What components do they see that they like? And we move to the first draft of the logo. And color and font is very essential. So I give them a color palette to let them for them to decide what they like. I give them samples with their acronym on there, and we keep moving through that to where we get to something that they definitely want. And so I give them 3 options based on what they said they want, the kind of font they said they like, and the color palette that they said they like. Once that's done, then I move on to really strengthen what the client selected. So from there, we built the second draft of the logo, and then we moved to the final version. So this was the final version, and I put it on different types of items so they can get a sense of if it was a car sticker, if it was a t-shirt, if it was a hat, would it look good? So they went with the car sticker, the core on the car. And so sometimes you'll see people out in the community with this sticker on their cars. And those are the actual team members who work in that group. So that's one thing that we do. And
Would you say that for these designs that you've been showing, which which program did you use the most, or which software?
for logos, it's generally always a vector tool, so Illustrator or Photoshop. Um, with like this is a screensaver that's shown in the hospital and health centers. This would be through InDesign, because you don't have to flatten everything and make it look like an image the way you would with a logo. Um, for something like this, where I developed artwork for the Cesar Chavez celebration, this was done in Photoshop because I could flatten the text and his image and everything like that. Um, so when you open the file, nothing changes. And that's something that most designers do. When we send it out to a client or to a vendor to get processed on a hat or develop a poster, we have to flatten the fonts. If you do not, say for instance, Anna, if you were to open this file in its native version, like InDesign, your fonts would change the Cesar Chavez name because you don't have that font in your system. So when you flatten it, it never changes.
I see. Would you say that when you're creating these posters or logos or designs, how long approximately do you think it takes you to finish something successfully or to give the final product to the whoever's asking it?
That varies. You could have an assignment that takes a, a week or so, and then you could have an assignment that takes 3 months because it's a committee that's involved. When a committee is involved, there's a lot of iterations. They they tweak they tweak that design until they feel comfortable with the final product. I've had um, I have had a assignment which took me only a couple of days because I know that client and I know what they like. And with committees, it's not so much like that because there's 7 to 10 people that may be observing what you're making. So I've had a committee group design um, that took me like 4 months because everybody had a different opinion.
What would you say, you just talked about working in groups and then sometimes you have a project on your own. What would you say it looks like while working for County Health? Like, what is a day in the life of a graphic designer?
Constant change. A day in the life with a graphic designer is constant change. And you have to be comfortable with altering your work. A lot of times when you design, you become, uh, you have a certain type of aesthetic. Like for me, I'm a minimalist. I like clean lines. I like a lot of white space. I like legibility with fonts. Um, I don't like to squish everything on a 8.5 by 11. I want room for the eye to look it over and read it easily. There are a lot of people that don't feel that way. They just want the message in the flyer and it doesn't matter how many words are in there. And that's hard to read. And you have to sometimes explain all the time what you do and why you're doing it that way.
Going back to that last message you just shared, what would you say when working with different languages and creating content? And then after that, we have a question in the chat box.
Okay, different languages is always longer than English. So you have to get that information from the client right away. You have to ask that, is this English only? And if they say no, then you ask, what languages do you want it translated into? Because other languages are always longer than English. So you have to conceptualize how that's going to look on the page.
The question in the chat box is, how do you come up with an idea to fill your blank canvas?
My ideas come from the client. Based on what they're trying to develop, then I can easily shape and mold the content that goes on the page. So I wouldn't put a picture of a dog, if they're talking about flu shots. It doesn't make any sense. So you have to see what your content is to be able to develop the visual.
What type of advice would you give to a young person looking to grow their portfolio in this field, or maybe hoping to, apply their skills, because a lot of our students are learning this in schools, and maybe they are working with clients through an internship. What advice would you give them?
Practice, 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 practice. Use all the tools available, and there are a lot. Even if you can't pay for the Adobe products, they have student versions that's really cheap. I used that while I was attending school. They have free software tools that are similar to a lot of the Adobe products if you're willing to learn how to use them.
Do you
So
mind
that's
sharing some of those? Like, what are their names?
like Canva. There's if you want images, you want to use stock images and you can't pay for the stock photography sites like iStock Photo, you can go to FreePic, and use those. You can, there's iMovie if you want to develop motion. You can use that tool instead of Premiere Pro. And I think there's one that's similar to, if you want to do start developing website and putting graphics on there. There's one that is similar to Dreamweaver that you could get that's free.
Would you say that in your current position, you do everything from logo design to website content, or what
Yes.
do you think you do most of?
What I do most of is for print material, but now we are starting to market and push out a lot of PSAs, public service announcements. So with that, we're using Premiere Pro for that. But most of the bulk stuff here with health services is print materials, and that's InDesign. Publisher is free, which is I would say a grandchild of InDesign.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing the exact software that you use for different material that you create. Would you say that you prefer one over the other? Do you have a favorite?
I do. I have my three favorites, and in this order is InDesign, Illustrator, and Photoshop, because they're interconnected. You can create something in Illustrator and just import it right into InDesign, and whatever you do in InDesign, you can import right into You don't have to copy it, save it, and put it over. They're interconnected. So I like that smooth transition between those tools.
What would you say now for students that, what if they are interested in looking into county health, but they want to get involved in the CEI department? Are there any opportunities for them or?
Yes, there are. Internships are essential for you to get a sense of how a unit works or how a employee works in a certain position.
Do you know if there are any currently available or not at the moment?
Um, I believe through pathways, you could probably get a position where you want as a student worker.
Okay, thank you. And I'll be sure to share that information with them after so they can contact Shannon.
Yes.
Um, okay, so I don't want to, take too much of your time, but I want to make sure if we do have any questions, you type them in the chat box. And then other than that, if you can, we'll wait for the questions to pop up, but if you can share maybe something you want whoever's watching this to take away as, like if there's one thing that they could remember, what would it be?
Think outside the box. Don't be pushed into one category. Today, creativity is a broad, expansive area. And so if there's a field that hasn't been created that you think you're suitable for, you create it. You push, you're your own person. So know what you want to do or figure it out what you want to do and show what you're capable of to others. They can create positions for you once they see how you work and what you like to do. So it's don't get stuck in a mold. Think outside the box.
Awesome. So I don't see any questions right now, but if something comes up, we will definitely reach out to you. And I wanted to thank you so much for joining us today. You've given us great insight, and we appreciate you showing us real work that you have done, and it's been in our communities, and it's been implemented through County Health. So thank you so much, Andi. Oh, yes.
Oh, there's one more.
Uh-huh.
I showed all the static stuff, but I
Uh-huh.
didn't show the moving stuff. So
Oh,
it's
awesome.
okay to show that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so I just wanted to express that there are moving parts, like on the motion side, that can be developed too. So let me.
I can hear it, but I can't see it.
Yes, I'm about to minimize this so I can share it on the screen.
Okay.
Did I do? I think I exit.
Perfect.
Sometimes getting these corners. Okay. So
And while you set that up, Andi, we have a question that
yes,
just came in, and it says, what is one skill you would say is important to bring to this career, whether that's a soft skill or a personal skill?
I think there are two things. I think it's one for both of what you said, a soft skill and personal skill. The soft skill would be keep a thick skin. Don't take things personal, um, because there's always a lot of change when it comes to visual arts. And so if you take things personal, then you'll 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 go crazy. You'll go crazy. And as far as what was the second question, soft
The
skill and
personal skill.
personal skill would be to be flexible and to be have interpersonal skills. Um, with visual arts and design, you're going to meet a lot of people and you're going to have to talk to a lot of people. And so you have to meet them where they are. You have to be able to communicate well with people in order to build what they're envisioning and make it look good um, as a professional. So what you're doing is you're integrating what they want with the principles of design, and the two kind of join together. So you have to have good interpersonal and communication skills for that.
Here's another question that just came in.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had an artist block? So similar to how writers have writer's blocks,
Oh,
have you
yeah.
ever had that? And how do you get through it?
Well, with artist blocks, sometimes I'll have to sketch just to kind of free myself up so I'm not just honing in on what their message is. And mood boards help. So creating mood boards with color, sound, uh, other uh, other artists' works, just fonts that you like. So mood boards are exceptional when it comes with designing, to designing.
And where would you would you create that on, I don't
I
know.
do. I used to just like cut out. Well, they teach you to cut things out and put it on a poster board, but in this field, you got so much work. You'd have 100 poster boards on your floor or in your office. So I do it electronically. I just go and search for stuff and just slap it in my little folder and create a mood board.
Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
You're able to share your screen when you're ready now.
Okay. I see you guys, but I'm trying to. That's odd that I can't see the.
If you go to share screen, it should give you different options.
I wanted to. Let's see. Yeah, it gives me different options, but it's not showing. Oh, here it is.
Oh, perfect.
All right. And this was from a health services meeting with doctors and health professionals. So I filmed and then I created the video that you see. So that's what I consider motion.
Oh, perfect. I was going to say we can still hear the sound. So, can you repeat the last part because the video sound was really loud? What were you saying about that?
So I was saying that was a healthcare convention for providers, doctors, nurses, and healthcare workers, and they had a conference. And so I video recorded it and then compiled a promo piece for the next session that they would have a month later. So it was things like that we do in my unit. And then the second one I want to share with you is for the homeless group. And this is more of building a piece where there was very little footage that we physically took ourselves, because you have different projects. You could go out and film yourself, or you could take still images from a stock site like iStock Photo. And so you're going to see a lot of these watermarks in there because they hadn't finalized the video, but you can take footage from a place like iStock and put it into and compile it into a video. So this is a narrative that I wanted to show you on that aspect. And this is with the narration from one of the staff at Health Services.
It's hard to find affordable housing in the Bay Area, and particularly difficult for people who have already become homeless. But in Contra Costa, it's getting easier for people facing homelessness to connect with help. If you or someone you know is facing homelessness, there are 3 ways to get help. Call 211, walk into a coordinated assessment resource center, otherwise known as a care center, or a mobile coordinated outreach referral and engagement or CORE team can reach people on the street. Someone who is homeless does not have a safe place to live. They may be living outside, in an encampment, in a car, or in an abandoned building. Walk-in care centers and CORE outreach teams are other good starting places for people who are experiencing homelessness. Call, care, or CORE staff may ask questions to explore options for other safe places a person could stay for a few days besides a shelter. If this isn't possible, they will check to see if emergency shelter is an option. There are many more people who need shelter than there are shelter beds, so available beds will go to the most vulnerable first. If shelter is not an option, people will be given referrals to available resources. Care centers are located throughout the county. People experiencing homelessness can walk into a care center Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Care center staff will sit down with people one-on-one to talk about what kinds of help might be available. In addition to helping with basic needs like food, showers, and laundry, care centers offer drug and alcohol treatment groups, housing search help, case management, and help connecting to things like mental health services, health insurance, and food stamps. Care-capable sites don't offer all of the services that a care center does, but they can do housing assessments and provide transportation to full care centers for people experiencing homelessness. The Monument Crisis Center might be an especially good starting place for families and seniors. For people living on the streets or in encampments, the mobile CORE outreach teams may be the best way to connect to help. CORE teams link people living outside with basic items like sleeping bags and food, as well as connections to services and supports they may need, including healthcare, housing assessments, and emergency shelter when available and appropriate. If you know of an encampment or someone on the street who may need support, call 211 to connect with a CORE team. Someone at risk of homelessness may have housing but is afraid they will lose it soon. Someone at risk should start by calling 211. In Contra Costa, connecting to homeless services is simple. Remember, call 211, walk into a care center, or reach out to a CORE team by calling 211. For more information about homeless services in Contra Costa County, go to cchealth.org/H3.
So there's different ways to, develop moving works, media. So you could do it with still images. You could do it with video clips that's not yours, something you get from a site, or you could actually shoot your own film. So that one incorporated all three.
As an artist, what would you say was the most important thing for you when creating that content?
The mood. The most important thing is the mood. And the content kind of gives you the mood to express. If you could, if you could hear the music that was used, I used a more somber music so that the messaging really hits and comes across well. Where with the other one, it was a little bit more up tempo. So it's the mood that you try to get across along with the messaging.
Thank you so much for answering that. We have a question in the chat box, and it's about how much money does a graphic designer, the salary look like if you're working for an entity like County Health? Like
Well,
if you're starting.
when you're starting, I want to say it's 48,000 a year. But remember, county is different from public. If you get a position in public, no, let me say this, private sector is different from public health work. So 48,000 to start around in public health sector, but if you go private, it's much higher.
Thank you. Okay, so I think it's awesome that you were able to bring all of these pieces, like I said, that you've worked on, and you talk about the software you use and which one you use for each piece. And that's really valuable because a lot of our students, like I said, learn this software and they learn how to use this type of programming. And, it might be something they want to continue working, but maybe they're interested in, both health and digital media. So this is a good way to bring it together. So I don't see any other questions here, but I do, like I said, I want to thank you so much for being here. This has been a really good opportunity, and we're happy to share this with our students. And hopefully we can get an intern in your CEI building soon, hopefully. That would be really awesome. So again, thank you so much. And I want to thank everyone on this call. If you are not part of the core team, you're welcome to log off. I'm going to start recording now.